Healthcare practitioners on the spot again tonight as we hear of the tragic death of 2 infants from a measles vaccination gone wrong. Mercy Kandia will be giving us the details as to just what happened in that instant. Welcome to KTN Prime. I'm Yvonne Okwara Matole. These are our top stories tonight. Tragic vaccination. 2 infants die. Tens called for emergency checkup in Elgeyo Marakwet.
Upon searching him, they recovered a gadget, which they suspected to be an IED.
3 Kenyans arrested for allegedly trying to sneak in explosives into a shopping mall.
We will start marching to Uhuru Park to join the striking teachers who have started arriving from all corners of the Republic of Kenya.
Teachers strike. Kotu threatens nationwide strike in solidarity with the teachers. And crossing the River Galana, a ride in Kenya's makeshift cable car. Thank you for joining us on the program tonight. Our sign language interpreter is William Silla. We want to begin on a tragic note. News from Kerio Valley. The Kenyan Director of Medical Services, Dr. Nicholas Muraguri, has sent special teams to investigate what led to the death of 2 infants early today, moments after getting a measles vaccine. The incident happened at a village in Marakwet East in Elgeyo Marakwet County. KTN's Mercy Kandia now joins us live from our Eldoret office. Mercy, thanks for joining us tonight. What can you tell us?
Yes, indeed, Yvonne, a sad day for Elgeyo Marakwet County. 2 children have succumbed to death after receiving a vaccination for measles. The 2 are believed to be 9 months old. What we learn, Yvonne, is that it was a normal routine vaccination by county officials. The county executive, Mr. Thomas Ruto, who's in charge of health in that county, says it was a normal routine vaccination happening in the villages, an outreach program in Kabetwa village, Marakwet East. He says soon after the 2 children were vaccinated, they started developing complications. These complications included vomiting, feeling drowsy, and a few minutes later they succumbed. A few others had reacted and were rushed to hospital for just checkup. This called for immediate closure of that particular practice within that county. Elgeyo Marakwet County Governor, through a press release to media houses, he says he condones with the family, and he says that as a county, this vaccine equipment, medicine was received from KEMSA. So he's saying that within the county, as we speak now, Yvonne, no vaccination is ongoing. Also to note, Yvonne, is that a team of experts is already on the ground from Elgeyo Marakwet County to assess the situation. We believe the 2 children have already been brought to the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital. A directive again that was sent to the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital to go to Elgeyo Marakwet and be able to get to the children in the villages to look at their conditions. Remember, Yvonne, that Elgeyo Marakwet County is quite vast. A lot of children need to be reached and to ensure that this vaccine is in control. Also, Yvonne, the county executive says that they're ensuring that this is controlled. So keep it KTN for more information, Yvonne, even as we update our audience on this unfolding story. Yvonne.
Thank you very much for that, Mercy Kandia in Eldoret, talking to us about that tragic event of the death of 2 infants. Like she says, we'll continue to update you as we get more stories in. Thank you very much, Mercy. Let's come back to Nairobi now. Police have arrested 3 men for allegedly trying to sneak a bomb wrapped in a polythene bag into the Garden City Mall, a shopping mall in Nairobi's Thika Road area. Police say the bomb was safely detonated. The mall, considered to be the largest in the region, houses 120 local and international brands. Security officers evacuated shoppers and working staff safely. Police said 1 suspect tried to pass security, but upon inspection was found to be carrying the gadget in a bag. 2 of his accomplices were also arrested.
Upon searching him, they recovered a gadget, which was they suspected to be an IED. Then they confined him and kept the suspected IED in a safe place. Then they called the police, who upon arriving at the scene called the bomb disposal team.
The people were coming. Like an hour, we didn't see like a lot of people. We were like, what's happening? Then all of a sudden, they were police guards. The guards be like, come out, come out, come out.
Right. Pressure is mounting on security agencies to bring to book Mugo Wawairimu, a questionable gynecologist suspected of sedating and raping a female patient. And now a special team of detectives from the Special Crimes Unit has taken over the investigation into the case. Murimi Mwangi has that update.
3 days since the publication of this video implicating Mugo Wairimu in a scam of allegedly sedating a woman who had gone for gynecological services before raping her, security agencies are still in the dark as to the whereabouts of the alleged rape doctor. And now the CID Serious Crimes Unit has taken over the matter from Kasarani Police Station. Inspector General of Police Joseph Boynet says his decision follows public complaints that the Kasarani station lacks capacity to investigate the case. But further details have emerged that officers attached to the station had not showed any zeal to pursue the matter. Mugo Wairimu, who operated unregistered clinics at Zimmerman and Githurai, remained active on social media for hours, ridiculing the public condemnation that followed the expose on his alleged heinous acts, raising questions on why officers from the Cyber Crimes Unit had not yet closed in on him 3 days since the expose. This, even as the Office of the Director of Public Prosecution calls for fast investigations to facilitate speedy prosecution of the case. And now, 9 women rights organizations have given the security agencies a 48 hours ultimatum to bring Mugo Wairimu to book, failure to which they will stage nationwide protests. Muremi Mwangi, KTN News, Nairobi.
A 30-year-old man who was still missing after a 6-story building collapsed in Kajiado's Ongata Rongai has been rescued. George Omondi was found alive after spending more than 30 hours buried under the rubble. Jeff Kirui has that story.
For close to 2 days, George Omondi was stuck in this rubble with neither food nor water, just holding on to hope that someone would hear his voice from the rumble of the bulldozer. His nightmare started at 2 a.m. Sunday morning when this 6-story building came down, killing his friend.
Kasikia mawe kunigonga kisha hapo. Baada ya mawe kunigonga, sasa kustuka, nilikuwa nataka niende nje ni nini mbaya. Ndio slab ikitoka juu kaniangukia. Lakini slab nilipata kama kuna mawe zingine zilikaanguka hapo chini. Sasa haikunifunika sana. Nikabaki kama nilikuwa nimelala hivi. Sasa nisingeweza kukutana tena. Sasa nilala tu hivyo mpaka over 50 hours.
It took rescue teams from the National Disaster Management, National Youth Service and Kenya Defence Forces more than 24 hours to rescue George.
Kuna mahali walibomoa, sasa sauti na vumbi ilikuwa sasa kutoka nje, nikapiga kelele wakasikia. Ndio wakasikia. Sasa kutoka nilipata watu wa NOS, Disaster Management people na assistant chief niliona hapo karibu.
For me it was a miracle of its kind, having 6 stories above you. And all you come out with is a hematoma on your occipital region. I think it goes beyond science.
A day earlier, the rescue team had retrieved the body of a watchman who was guarding the premises. Stuck in the rubble, George, who is the firstborn in a family of 4, had one wish.
Kwa naomba tu Mungu kama ni kukufa, aniache niende nyumbani kwanza nisalimie wazazi. Ndio hata kama nikufa nikufa.
With teary eyes, he narrates how thoughts of his old grandmother kept him going.
Ninajua alikuwa aniombea sana ni grandmother wangu. Hata jana nilipoongea na yeye alilia kwa simu kusikia bado niko live. Nikakata tu simu na nilitaka tu niende nimuone acha nione niko hai.
Once bitten, twice shy, George has worked for barely 2 months in the construction site. Now dreads the work even as the contractor gets the blame.
The problem are the constructors and also building owners. How can you invest such amount of huge money in this building and you don't even supervise?
Incidents of houses collapsing have plagued Kenya, with citizens demanding answers from authorities tasked with protecting them from substandard buildings. Jeff Kirui, KTN News.
Outgoing Deputy Inspector General of Police Grace Kaindi has now sued the National Police Service Commission and the Attorney General, challenging the presidential directive to replace her with former General Service Unit Commandant Joel Kitili. Kaindi filed her suit through a certificate of urgency, claiming that the directive by President Uhuru Kenyatta amounted to a roadside declaration, as it was never put on paper as per the law. Ben Kitili reports.
Immediate former Deputy Inspector General of Police Grace Kaindi simply will not go out without a fight. After suffering a blow Friday when the Labour Court refused to suspend the directive to remove her from office, Kaindi has now moved to the High Court to challenge her retirement from the police service and subsequent redeployment to the civil service as an ambassador. In a sworn affidavit, Kaindi has termed the directive to eject her from the police service as a roadside declaration, claiming it was never put on paper. She said that she learned of a transfer through the media, contrary to due process. The outgoing deputy police boss has criticized the manner in which a senior state officer like the Deputy Inspector General was being dismissed and wants the High Court to quash the directive to retire her. Kaindi, through her lawyer J.C. Odoro, told the court that the action to remove her from office erodes constitutional gains towards women empowerment.
When we discovered that she wasn't even aware of that transfer, then it again confirmed the kind of unfair treatment that women in leadership positions in public offices are being exposed to.
A presidential directive replaced her with former Commandant of the General Service Unit, GSU Joel Kitili, who has since taken over as Deputy Inspector General of Police in an acting capacity.
The DIG, Kenya Police Service, retired from the service.
Kaindi's redeployment has caused much uproar from the opposition as well as the civil society.
It is now clear that the Jubilee administration is sabotaging the reform agenda. And the cases in point are the following. The recent developments in the police service, and in particular the manner in which the Deputy Inspector General has been relieved of her duties.
The National Police Service Act requires that at least one of the top 3 police officers be of opposite gender. This has led to criticism over the appointment of Joel Kitili, a man, to the position of Deputy Inspector General.
What next for the next women who are looking forward to serve in public offices? How then is their removal also going to be just an announcement?
But what happens if there is no woman to take over? As it stands now, obviously, there is no very senior woman police officer, and therefore that position cannot be left vacant.
This as 4 senior women police officers were promoted and posted to high offices in the service. Judy Jabet has been appointed the commandant of the CID training school, as Jacinda Kenywa becomes the traffic commandant. Miriam Muli is a new director of inspection, and Mary Kaol is a new director of personnel at the CID. The matter will be mentioned next week, Wednesday, September 16th, for directions. Ben Kitili, KTN News.
All right, let's go to the Kenyan teachers strike now. The Teachers Employer Teachers Service Commission has now written to the Supreme Court seeking to withdraw its latest application to have the teachers' pay increment suspended. The TSC now argues that 2 orders issued by the court last week have indicated that the Supreme Court does not intend to allow the hearing of their application. The TSC lawyer Stella Ruto wrote to the Supreme Court even as the Central Organization of Trade Unions, COTU, threatened to call a nationwide strike of all workers in solidarity with teachers if the government does not play ball within the next 7 days. Here is more now on that story.
Second day of the second week into the teachers' strike. Empty classrooms and desks will come into most of the schools. Teachers have vowed not to engage in any teaching activities in schools until the government gives in to their demands. The Central Organization of Trade Unions, led by the Secretary General Francis Atoli, has come out strongly to back the teachers. threatening a nationwide strike by all workers under the unions in support of the teachers' pay.
So we are joining our brothers and sisters in teaching profession to make sure that that solidarity is really solidarity and solidarity for a purpose. Two, the very government has already declared that they are going to lay off about 40,000 civil servants. Tell me where these 40,000 people are going to go. This is a very dangerous move by the Kenya government.
The strike is meant to push the government to implement the Court of Appeal's interim order for the teachers to be paid an additional salaries of between 50 and 60%.
Ingawa walimu nitaka nyongeza mishahara ya kati ya asilimia 150 mpaka 300, tunawapa asilimia 50 mpaka 60. Hii ndio ofa ambayo serikali yenyewe walikuwa wametupatia wakati yale mazungumzo. Sisi hatukutoa hii asilimia 50-60, serikali ndio ilitupatia.
Mambo ya corruption inafanya sisi tutajoin walimu. Kama mtu mmoja anatengeneza 1 billion siku moja, hajali. Na hizi pesa zikiwekwa pamoja, walimu watakuwa na mshahara.
Both the Teachers Service Commission and the Kenya National Union of Teachers have petitions against each other, the Labour Court and the Supreme Court. The unions, including KOTU and the two giant Kenyan teachers unions, are scheduled to hold a major meeting at Nairobi Zuru Park, a meeting they are calling prayers. Nicholas Wambua for KTN News.
Now that report by Nicholas Wambua brings us to our big question tonight on KTN Prime, and it's all about that nationwide strike that has been called by the Central Organization of Trade Unions. We're asking you, would you support a nationwide strike called by KOTU in support of teachers? Would you support a nationwide strike called by KOTU in support of teachers? Send us your views. The SMS number is 22155. We remind you again, this number is absolutely free, so we'd love to hear from you. Send us your views. Start with a yes or no, and then also please let us know your name and where you are watching us from. If you prefer, Twitter at KTN News, at Yvonne Okwara, and we will sample your views throughout this broadcast. You're watching KTN Prime. Want to take a short break? We'll be right back. Thank you for staying with us on KTN Prime. We still want to stick with matters of industrial unrest and still talking about a strike there by nurses. Now, a meeting between the Health Workers Union in Nairobi and representatives from the county government failed to bear any fruits. The two parties failed to agree on issues surrounding the legality of the union. The union leaders have vowed to continue with the strike until their grievances are addressed.
As the health workers' strike continues to bite, many Kenyans, those who can afford it, have been forced to seek treatment in private hospitals. Many others have been left with nowhere to turn. At the Pumwani Maternity Hospital, patients were left stranded as doctors who are on a go-slow decided to send some patients home.
Mimi naishi baba dogo. Nilikuwa nimekuja huku clinic, sikuwa najua nini naendelea. Sasa kufika wananiambia hawezi nihudumia juu wako mgomo. Sasa mimi ni mtu yani nafanywa operation, niko na watoto wawili na watu nifanywa operation. Sasa niliambiwa huko clinic penye naendanga nikifikisha 7 months nikuje nifanye booking huku. Juu huku ndio nitajifungulia. Sasa kufika wakaniambia hivyo.
A scenario that repeated itself at the Mbagazi Hospital, where some wards were left unattended because the few nurses present could not cater to everyone.
We are willing to negotiate because it's only what we are asking is about salary increment. We are only asking for promotions, and we are asking for equal remuneration. Because why do you promote these ones and leave these ones? And we are working in the same umbrella.
As far as the harmonization process is concerned, I don't think this is really the responsibility of the county government. This is the responsibility of the public service, the national public service, and the county public service. And it is a process.
As the strike entered its day 2 here in Nairobi, a meeting between health workers and representatives from the county government ended on a sour note. A disagreement will ensue between the two parties, leaving the nurses with no option but to stand firm on their ground. The strike, they say, will go on.
The county brought a set of lawyers. They are asking for legality of this union, and they are asking why we are representing the clinical officers and all the healthcare workers.
The situation was, however, different in Meru County, where patients had every reason to smile after health workers called off a week-long strike. This following an agreement with the county government. But in Nyeri County, hospitals remained deserted as health workers chose to stay away from the hospitals.
When they said that we had refused to sign the return to work formula, that one was not ours.
The striking health workers have vowed not to give in until the government resolves their grievances, which include issues of delayed pay and allowances and hiring of more nurses. Fatma Pole, KTN News.
Now, in one area of the Kenyan Rift Valley, an interesting development is taking place, and most of the menfolk are caught in a dilemma. An increasing number of women specialists are getting into the work of doing artificial insemination for animals, and the men, especially the farmers, are finding it hard adjusting to this new reality. KTN's Mesikandi explains.
Angeline Kiprono prepares to start what many here refer to as a man's job. She is one of the 2 female artificial insemination specialists in Elgeyo Marakwet County. The artificial insemination program started early this year by the county government. That was the upside, including Angeline being employed to do what she loves. Initially, this job was done by men only.
The thing doesn't matter what you are, whether female or male, but the service that you deliver. So the best thing is the service. We encourage our farmers not to see the outward appearance, but the service being delivered.
A few meters away in Mendililo village, Kwambai has been a dairy farmer for over 30 years. He knows that it's definitely not about the outward appearance. All his cows have been through the AI process. He is one of the farmers adjusting to the new officers in town. The women, as the old method didn't yield much for them.
Tulitumia ndume, ilikuwa iko ndume ya kutembeza. Kwa wakulima hilo walikuwa wamefanya bidii. Na nilitumia ndume, lakini sikupata ng'ombe kike. Ile ng'ombe yangu ilikuwa ina produce 10 liters. Ilitoa tu ndume mpaka ikasaeka.
The notion was that it's a man-only job, but the success stories here are what have contributed to this notion slowly fading away.
It's some because of culture, but we are there to polish up and to scrap off some culture that are really tipping us down and to prove that little ladies we can deliver.
Are just stories ya siku zile. Unajua wakati huu ni kama vile hata umepigilia trouser. The other time walikuwa wakisema ni ya wanaume, but now women we are advocating for each and everything. Lazima tufanye wote hata kama wanasema ni ya wanaume.
We are liberal county. Sisi ni watu tuko liberal. We are not conservative. Wala watu wakisema ai hatutaki wanawake wafanye kazi fulani.
So, in her gumboots, she walks the talk. After all, it's what puts food on the table. Not only on her table, but the farmers too get to benefit.
Kwa hivyo, mambo ya kufuka ndume, niliwachana kitambo sana. Niliwachana hiyo kitambo sana. Ndume ikiwa, nauza. Napata pesa, napea mtoto ya shule.
Tumeweza kupata ng'ombe wengi, kubadilisha ng'ombe wengi. Kwa sababu mbeleni tungepata tu fika ya around 1,800, 2,000. Na ukiona kwa wakati huu tumefikia hiyo nambari ya 3,600 na mwaka hujaisha.
It's these numbers that will in turn boost the village, and development, change as they say, is inevitable and is as good as new. In agriculture, technology is used to boost further production. Here in Elgeyo Marakwet County, artificial insemination is used to do just that. But what was once a preserve for the male inseminators in the village here is now being fully embraced by female inseminators. Marcy Kandie, KTN, Mindililo Village, Elgeyo Marakwet County.
I like what the lady said there. Don't look at the outward appearance, but do focus on the service that is being provided. Now I want to move from one heartwarming story to another. cable cars are not common in Kenya, but there is one making the lives of travelers crossing River Galana in Tana River County easy, especially when the river floods. The makeshift car is run by a diesel engine. Our special correspondent Alex Chamada used it while crossing over to cover the Galana irrigation project.
At this section of the river, driving from Voi town, there is a bridge, but so low, making it impassable when the water is high. Pedestrians would also dare not cross when it floods. Furthermore, the water is infested by crocodiles, posing more danger here. But someone thought out of the box and came up with the idea of a makeshift cable car, or basket if you like, as an alternative means of crossing the river, while hanging in the balance, literally speaking. Hey, now, oh my goodness, the journey has started. The car is made of metal and wire mesh. The idea was mooted by the Agricultural Development Corporation that owns a huge ranch in this area. Moses Wangila is the engineer overseeing the use of the car. Inasikia wanawake waogopa kuitumia, ni ukweli?
Ya, hata wakifika hapo wanazuia uso, hawataki waone vile inatembea. Maana akiwa hapa anaona ni kama haka anaelekea hivi na kumbe is crossing.
Necessity is the mother of invention, so they say. The technology could be polished and replicated to other areas in Kenya that are in dire need of similar transport. Cable cars could also be used to reach top of hills and mountains as a tourist attraction. For KTN, I'm Alex Chamada in Galana.
I'm not sure I'd get on to one of those. Would you? Let us know. 22155. A quick reminder of our question, a big question today. We're asking you whether you would support a nationwide strike called for by the Central Organization of Trade Unions, that's KOTU, in support of the teachers. Send your comments in to the number 22155. Start with a yes or no, followed by a brief comment. Remember to leave us your name and your location. Remember, this number is absolutely free. On Twitter at KTN News, the hashtag is KTN Prime. Keep your comments coming in as we continue with this live bulletin. Right, now I want to take a short break right now on KTN Prime, and when we return, Joy Dorinbera has all the day's latest headlines in business news. Titus Naikuni today speaking up on the allegations that he is behind the financial woes at Kenya Airways. You'll want to hear what he has to say right after this break.
Good evening, and thank you all for keeping it KTN. My name is Joy Dorinbera. Let's take a look at business. Over 70 traders affected by the inferno that gutted down Gikomba open air market were today a happy lot after they got almost 90 million shillings in compensation from Kenya Orient Insurance. But as they get their businesses up, low insurance penetration still remains a big concern, with uptake of insurance standing at a paltry 4%. KTN's Abiagina has more.
The rapid growth of the country's financial services sector has over the last 10 years not been replicated in the insurance sector, with only 8% of Kenyans taking up products being rolled out.
We are standing at the turning point of a tipping point for insurance underwriting.
The sector has a penetration of less than 3.5% of GDP, leaving Kenya in the wake of the big boys such as South Africa, who have more than 16% penetration. A testament to the low uptake has been the line of calamities that has left hundreds counting losses. Among the most prominent was the Westgate terror attack that wiped out hundreds of businesses and destroyed billions worth of property. Majority of business owners had not taken up insurance, a fact that left many reeling. But the sector is slowly gaining steam as the growing middle class and rising sophistication of the average consumer and traders creates demand for insurance products. This was evident when at least 78 traders who lost their property in a recent fire at the Gikomba market, close to 90 million shillings, was paid out as compensation.
When you hear that tens of thousands of traders were affected, and we come here and we tell you out of that about 70 to 80 are being paid for their claims, I think it tells you that we have a challenge. It tells you we have a lot of work to do in trying to increase the insurance penetration.
And as insurance firms develop market-centric products, one of the areas that is emerging as the front runner is the small and medium enterprises. According to the Insurance Regulatory Authority, the SME sector remains among the most underserved, owing to a combination of lack of affordable and low awareness. But they say there is light at the end of the tunnel.
I think that they are targeting that market, and we will go quite far to lift up the people who are in small trade business.
Kenya's insurance sector has been ranked second after Nigeria among the most important in terms of growth in Africa over the next 3 years. According to a 2014 survey by PwC, heavy investments in infrastructure and recent findings in the oil and gas sector present a great opportunity for companies in Africa and around the globe. Abiagina, KTN Business.
Access to credit remains a daunting task for small and medium enterprises as many banks shy away from the risk of non-repayment. Of the country's 7.8 million SMEs, only 9% of them have access to credit facilities, leaving an annual credit gap of over $6 billion. KTN's Charles Gitunga now speaks to Jeff Vincent, the Chief Underwriting Officer at African Trade Insurance Agency, on how banks can adopt credit insurance products and be in a more comfortable place to lend to small and medium enterprises.
Keen on SMEs, and that's because, you know, banks consider them as high risk, and I believe you're in a position to tell us the rates of non-repayment of SMEs to banks when they borrow. How is it? Are we getting better or are we getting worse?
SMEs, well, because there's so much that can happen that makes that a default. If it's a sole proprietor, the guy can fall ill, can run under a bus, so there's so many things that can happen, and that makes it risky. You have all the SMEs don't have necessarily all the skills to manage their company properly. A lot of them have a very limited capital base. As soon as they have one client who doesn't pay in time, they can be on the ground. So it is indeed a more risky business than if you insure a big multinational. And that's why the banks, traditionally, they don't take a lot of risk themselves. They ask for collateral for securities, and then their business is really to call the security and to enforce their rights under the loan agreement and to get their money back.
Of course, the SME sector is growing quite quickly in the country. We are seeing a lot of young businesses starting, and they want money. They go to banks. Are we seeing the same case, more and more banks going towards taking insurance for the credit to SMEs?
Absolutely. It also has to do with the change in at ATI. Initially, we were focusing on big transactions, mostly with foreign banks who give big loans to big companies. But our mission is really to support the local economy also, to facilitate trade. So we have been adjusting our products. The way we look at risk, we have created the expertise also. We have found information sources that allow us to take risks that we wouldn't have taken 5 years ago, because now we are better equipped and we have the right people to do to work on it.
Recently, you've signed an agreement with Chase Bank, yes, and now NIC. How many more banks are you covering their loan portfolio and their lending to SMEs?
On this basis, we have 3 banks that are very actively engaged, and we have other banks, how to say, queuing up. So they would like, because it's a good product. I really think it meets the need of the banks. Our problem is capacity. If we sign such a program, we need to deliver.
For Former Kenya Airways Chief Executive Officer Titus Naikuni has absolved himself from any allegations of corruption, arguing that all his activities at the helm of the airline were done above board. Naikuni has been accused of running down the airline, which reported a 26 billion shilling net loss in the full year to March 2015, with experts and state officials taking issue with everything from the plan to outsource staff to the Project Mawingu program. Analysts have said Kenya Airways expenses expanded faster than its revenues, a fact that has left the airline battling serious cash flow issues. But speaking before a Senate committee investigating the national carrier, Naikuni said Kenya Airways was suffering the effects of low passenger volume due to terrorism threats, which has crippled the country's tourism sector, and the Ebola outbreak that forced it out of its lucrative West African market.
To get into corruption using the airline, I may not know. But from my knowledge of the Mawingu project and how we went through it, there was no room for corruption where I knew what was happening and I allowed it to happen. And in fact, I'll be open to any investigation, Chairman, in terms of investigating the management and whoever to clear this particular aspect, because it looks like it's a cloud that is hanging.
Well, that's it for KTN Business. My name is Joy Doreen Bira. I'll leave you with the financial markets. And the Kenya shilling not doing too well as well. Today closed the day at 106 shillings and about 75 cents. So we're hoping that probably doesn't depreciate any further. But take a look at how it did trade against other currencies and also a look at the NSC performance.
It's time for KTN Sports. I'm Lane Washira. The national volleyball women's team, the Malkia Strikers, may have won just 2 matches at the just concluded Volleyball World Cup in Japan, but the lessons and experience they gained at the global showpiece is priceless. The team jetted back to the country with focus now on the Rio 2016 Olympics qualification. The Malkia Strikers arrived in the country to a low-key reception with no fanfare. The African champions took part in the just concluded Volleyball World Cup in Japan, where they continued with the improvement. The team managed only 2 wins against African arch rivals Algeria and Peru. The 2-match win may seem as too little, but it's a commendable progress from the previous editions, where winning a set called for celebrations.
I think that is the best performance by an African team, because you remember going to the championship, Kenya had not won matches, because what we were used to winning is sets. But this time we've won 2 matches, and I believe we could have won even more had we had maybe good training or played more friendly matches.
The team did not come close to the global championship glory, but the players caught the attention of the FIVB, improving their rankings in the world. Massimo Im is still ecstatic after being named 6th best attacker in the world.
Kujitolea. Volleyball ni team sport, lakini kuna yule mmoja wanaambia wewe kufa na team. Sasa nikaamua ni kufa na team.
The Malkia Strikers are now focusing on bagging a ticket to the Rio Olympics.
We left here after the Grand Prix knowing that we are going to perform better, and we are going to build on this. We want to do well in the coming international matches, and also starting with the Olympic qualifiers. We want to go to the Olympics and finish in even a better position.
Ningeomba players wa Kenya wajitolee kufanya mazoezi yao. Coach anakupatia 25%, wewe mwenyewe jitafutie 75%.
Kenya has never qualified for the Olympics. And shifting gears now, 2-time Tour de France winner Chris Froome is set to miss the World Road Cycling Championships after breaking a foot racing in Spain. David Kinja, the man who nurtured Froome, continues to watch from afar as Froome continues to rewrite history. Hassan Juma caught up with Kinja in Githunguri, Kiambu County, where he disclosed that he will be skipping the All-African Games in Congo-Brazzaville.
Nao wazee wenzangu waendeshaji baisikeli wanamjua sana, hata wakimwona kwa TV pia unipigia simu wasema, "Hey, haka nikaleka mzungu," ambia ndiye huyo. Unaona? Sasa wakati hiyo ilikoko tuna shughuli zetu zile za kwenda masafa ya baisikeli, tumebeba mabagi zetu, sasa tunaenda Lake Magadi kule, tunakaa siku 3, alafu baada ya siku 3 tunaendesha tunarudi, tumekula mashida njiani.
We caught up with David Kanja, who is shaping out for an upcoming cycling event that will be held in Kiambu County. The upcoming event will feature 6 stages and is open to cyclists within the country. The Kiambu event will be in preparation to a national event that will be held at the foot of Mount Kenya.
The landscape is almost the same as the one in Mount Kenya regions. So it being a little bit nearer to Nairobi, people can now do almost even a trip of about 1 hour.
For Kanja, it's time to give back to the community after years being at the top. He believes it is time to nurture the upcoming talents in the sport.
We are looking into modalities of how we can be able to provide resources to our youths to enable their well-being.
And his thoughts on the cycling team that is representing Kenya in the All Africa Games in Congo, Brazzaville.
Federation imechagua vijana wenye wako kweli, wako strong. Ni vijana hata mimi nimekikimbizana nao siku hizi naona kweli hao nisipojichunga hao vijana wako hatari, wako moto sana. Ambapo hilo ni jambo zuri zaidi katika mchezo wote kwamba unaenda juu.
For now, as Britain and Kenya continue to share in the exploits of Chris Froome, Kanja hopes the local lads will use Froome as a springboard to better their results. Hassan Juma, KTN Sports.
In association with Morteen Dew.
Alright, so we want to get your feedback tonight. Our big question, remember we asked you whether you would support a strike, a nationwide strike called by the Central Organization of Trade Unions in support of the teacher strike that was called for by Francis Atwoli today. On SMS, Chris watching us in Malindi, you say, yes, I support it because the government has been taking teachers for a ride for far too long. On Twitter, at Kirore Judith, watching us all the way from Switzerland, thanks for watching. You say, I support the court to move to stand with our teachers. And we've got one contrary here. Wairimo in Nakuru says, no, I do not support it. Kotu isingilie. Let us all be reasonable. Kama hakuna pesa, hakuna. When the money is available, we shall definitely get it. Aldad, watching us from Kericho, your text message, you say, where did the government get 5 billion shillings for the El Nino preparedness? Yet it was not in the budget. Pay teachers already. Finally, Jane watching us, thanks for sending in your SMS tonight. You say, yes, I support that nationwide strike. As a doctor being deprived of my rights by the national government, I support anyone who is fighting for their rights. All the best to teachers as the doctors work towards returning to the national government. Those are your views tonight. We thank you very much for watching our bulletin and for your contributions. I'm Yvonne Okwara Matole. Linda Ogutu is up next with Worldview.